Good morning. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler, and we're going to take a look at the winter storm update. I mentioned about the possibility last night in a video of a winter storm this weekend in Southeast Virginia. So let's get right to it. All right, so the first thing we're going to look at is disturbance number 1, Thursday night into Friday morning. Looks like we could have a mixture of either rain and snow, then eventually changing to light snow showers overnight, Thursday night into Friday morning. We will be watching this disturbance very closely for any strengthening trends. But what we have, and the forecast guidance has been back and forth and all over the place, but we do have an area of low pressure. The latest data shows an area of low pressure, 1,009 millibar low, just to the southeast off South Carolina. Synoptically, we have a Arctic cold front that has moved through the area, and it's farther to the south of our area. With the 540 decameter line, your rain snow line in the east is all the way down to South Carolina, central Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. 1,027 millibar high is setting up over eastern Kansas with the clockwise flow around it, bringing colder air from the north-northwest into Southeast Virginia. You're starting to see an area of snow break out, mainly to our west on Thursday evening. This is 7 p.m. Thursday evening. And watch what happens over time. The area of low pressure deepens slightly down to 1,007 millibars, and it's situated basically southeast from Cape Hatteras. We still have this 1027 millibar high has shifted slightly east over northern Arkansas with colder, lower thicknesses and colder winds blowing into Hampton Road cities into Southeast Virginia. At this time, we do expect snow, a rain and snow mix initially becoming all snow. It's a lighter snow event overnight Thursday night into Friday morning. And then over time, what happens is, and this is 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday morning, it's actually still snowing over Southeast Virginia. We'll be paying attention to this one. We'll be talking about this system in a minute, but this is a stronger low pressure system over the southern Rockies, and that one really could be a big weather maker for Southeast Virginia on the Saturday into Sunday time period. We'll take a look at that one in a minute. But our first focus is this system here, 1,005 millibar low, starting to head off outward to sea, out into the western Atlantic. But on the back side, we do have enough moisture that brings in some snow to Southeast Virginia. Quick summary on this system first. Based on current data, we're expecting a dusting to 1 inch of snow for Hampton Road cities by early Friday morning. Again, there's so much uncertainty. The model guidance has been all over the place on this. The European model, for example, is not showing much of anything except drier air. The GFS, which is the model we're looking at right now, is the moisture of the two models. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on things and see how the trends in the models, how that happens over time, the trends. Also, we'll have to monitor closely this system based on its available moisture. As that colder air filters in from the northwest on the front side of this high, will there be enough moisture? Or will the air be too dry? What happens a lot of times is you get this very cold, dry air at the surface, and even though you have moisture falling from the clouds aloft towards the ground, it evaporates before reaching the ground. That is something we call virga in the weather business. And what that does is, when the evaporation occurs, any precipit's not really able to make it to the ground. It takes a while to moisten up the lower troposphere, the area closest to where we live. So we have to keep an eye on that. Available moisture, the storm track. This storm track, we're still a good 4 to 5 days out. Storm track's probably going to change between now and then. The rain snow line, where is that rain snow line set up? And a lot's going to be dependent on the depth of the cold air, the extent of the cold air, as well as the track of the low pressure system itself, the storm system. So with time range of 72 to 96 hours, there can be great changes in the storm track and intensity of these types of systems. It can make a big difference, the storm track, believe me. And forecast guidance, again, has been all over the place, so confidence is not the highest just yet. But this is just a heads up to all of you folks out there that we could see some winter weather in the Hampton Roads in Southeast Virginia Thursday evening, overnight Thursday night into Friday morning. Now that could have an impact on schools and also could have an impact on places opening up on time, businesses. So we'll just have to keep a close eye on it. This is the last question I'm going to talk about with this system. We'll move on. Additionally, will the cold air spill into Southeast Virginia in conjunction with the precipitation? Or will this cold air lag in spilling in? Will the moisture be there and the cold air be too far to the northwest, and maybe we just get a cold rain with this system? So again, there's a lot of question marks that we're taking a close look at right now. Storm system number 2, this is the big one to me. And the forecast model data has been all over on this one as well. For example, the American GFS model has been jumping one run, it'll be there. There'll be a good little storm system off the East Coast. The next model run, it'll be gone. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on this. Now, this is actually Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have cold air in place at 1033 millibar high over Southeast Virginia. That's very important because that's keeping that cold air locked into place. We have this 1012 millibar low over the northern Gulf of Mexico. A lot of rain to the north of it and to central Mississippi, southern Mississippi, and southern and central Alabama. And then you got this huge area of snow breaking out. Now let's go back one slide. That is this system here. That was the 996 millibar low system. It's going to transit, basically it's going to dig down, the trough's digging down, and that's going to basically form a trough of low pressure over the east. All right, so what we have going on is we have this area of low pressure. We have snow breaking out to the west of Southeast Virginia. Now look what happens by 1300 or 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. This snow is really starting to get close to Hampton Roads cities in Southeast Virginia. That 1012 millibar low has moved slightly east into the panhandle of Florida. We do have a mix of rain and snow, even down into central South Carolina and in north and northeast Georgia, including Atlanta. So this could be a real interesting scenario. We got cold air coming down, funneling in on the front side of this 1040 millibar high located over southeast Minnesota. So the cold air is remaining in place, and therein lies the concern for Southeast Virginia. Now this could be the bigger snowstorm with accumulations for Southeast Virginia. That low pressure system now moves up along the coast. And it's a lot closer than yesterday's model data indicated. Today it's a lot closer, and we got a heavier band, a moderate to heavy band of snow now into North Carolina and into Southeast Virginia at this time by 7 p.m. on Saturday night. Moving ahead now to Sunday, overnight Saturday night by 1 a.m. Saturday, basically 1 a.m. late Saturday night or 1 a.m. Sunday morning, early Sunday morning, this area of low pressure is intensifying as it moves up along the mid-Atlantic coast, and we have heavier snow into Hampton Roads cities at that time. The 1040 millibar high is still filtering in much colder air on the backside of this low. The combination of the flow around the high and the flow around that low is bringing colder air in on the backside. Sunday morning at 7 a.m., we expect that snow finally to start moving out and tapering off. But based on current data, we're looking at 3 to 5 inches of snow possible. I will say possible, and I'll emphasize that right now, possible. A lot could change since this time range, again, is beyond 5 days. But we could, based on the current data, look at 3 to 5 inches of snow falling across Southeast Virginia to include the Hampton Roads cities with moderate to occasionally heavy snow. We're really focusing on overnight Saturday night, late Saturday night, overnight into Sunday morning would be the heaviest snowfall. We'll have to monitor the situation closely based on available moisture, storm track, rain, snow line, where the depth and the extent of the cold air occurs again, just like with the first disturbance or storm system. All right, and the extent of the cold air and then the track of the storm are the two most critical areas to look at. And with time ranges beyond 5 days, there could still be great changes in the storm track and intensity. So nothing's etched in stone at this point. The ocean being right offshore here can have a major influence on the precipitation type as well. Forecast guidance has been all over the place. Again, just reiterating the importance of that. Until we see more agreement between forecast models, the confidence is not very high at this point in time. But it's just, I'm just sending out an alert to everybody to let them know this is a possibility that could have a significant impact on your plans and your traveling ability this upcoming weekend. Now, looking at a past snowstorm, we go back to 2010. That was a big snowstorm across Southeast Virginia. What I try to look for are parallels or similarities in tracks and the synoptic situation where the highs were to the northwest of us, and just to see if we can put stuff together. What I want to show you, this is graphics courtesy of NOAA NCEP, by the way, so thank you to them. But at this chart here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This December 24th to 28th, 2010 snowstorm gave Southeast Virginia 10 to 20 inches of snow. It was mainly 12 to 14 inches across a lot of the area, the Hampton Road cities. I want you to notice, though, where that low is. That low is remaining to our southeast. It's fairly close to the coast, but this warm front, indicated by this red line right here, the track of the low remains offshore to where this warm air is not allowed to pivot in and over the top of Hampton Roads. Therefore, in this case, it remained an all-snow event. Now, look at the position of this low pressure system, and now let's go back and look at the position of this low, which is right here. So it's fairly similar as far as where the lows are setting up. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get the kind of storm we had in 2010. I'm not to that degree of confidence just yet, but I found it very interesting to look at the similarities. And then look at your 500 millibar chart. You had a deep trough, a very deep trough over the eastern United States, bringing a lot of colder air down in from eastern Canada. And then your jet stream, we had a jet max basically that was positioning itself right over the top of us, a jet max or a jet streak, which is a higher wind speed area within the core of the polar front jet. So that was the conditions, these deep troughs set up over the eastern United States. Now I want to take a look at the dynamics of the jet streak really quick and the importance of it. When we look at a 300 millibar chart, for example, like this one, we look for these hashed yellow areas or orange. That's 120 to 140 knot winds within the main jet stream itself. And what we're looking for are these little areas where it's orange and yellow, because these are higher wind speeds that are blowing through the main jet stream axis. Why do we look at those little areas? Because if we were to look at a jet streak or a jet max, they're the same. If you're located in, if you were to put a plus symbol right over the top of one of these, okay, and if you're in the left exit area or the right entrance area, if your location is below these two areas, that is the area where you generally tend to have rising air motion and greater lift, which means you generally have stronger storm systems. So that's why we look at it. If you're in the right exit or the left entrance region, on the other hand, in these two areas here, then you're generally going to have sinking air motion, and you're going to have no storms enhanced in those areas. Just want to throw that out there. All right, I will be back in a minute. I'm going to cut this video right now, and I'm going to do a part 2 here in a minute. So I'll be with you right in a moment again.